So hopefully this video isn't too dark because it's been rainy and cloudy all morning, but today is the only day that I have time to film. So here we go. Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I'll be bringing you my September wrap-up. Now I know I said a couple videos ago when I did my channel updates when I was going back to school that I wasn't going to be doing monthly wrap-ups anymore because I didn't think I was going to be reading as much, but between the 2 audiobooks I was able to complete for fun and the 3 books that I was able to complete for school, I ended up with 5 books total that I completed in the month of September, so I figured it was enough to do a monthly wrap-up, and because I hadn't had time throughout the month to actually film any individual book reviews, I just figured I would go ahead and do a full monthly wrap-up because I figured 5 books was okay to talk about. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and share with you guys today. Now it's all a blur as to what order I read these books in, so I'm just going to divide them between the 2 books that I read for fun and then the 3 books that I read for school. The first book that I ended up completing for fun and I listened to on audiobook was The Good Girl by Mary Kubica. This is a adult mystery thriller that follows 3 different main characters, and the 3 stories kind of follow the disappearance of this one girl named Mia. One of the perspectives is Mia's mother, the other one is the detective who is investigating the disappearance, and the other perspective is the man who kidnapped Mia. It goes kind of back and forth through time between the present and the past, with all of this stuff revolving around this mystery and these 3 different characters, kind of what's going on in their lives as this whole mystery is unfolding, and they're trying to figure out why Mia was taken, what's going on, where she's been, now in the present, why she can't remember a lot of the things that happened to her while she was kidnapped and everything. And I thought it was really interesting, and it was really kind of differently structured. It was a little confusing for me at the beginning because like I said, I was listening to this one on an audiobook, so it took me some time to kind of realize what was going on, and I was a little confused with the 2 different timelines on top of the 3 different perspectives because I thought each perspective only focused on the one timeline, and then they started jumping between the past and the present within each perspective. Once things kind of clicked and things started moving along, and I was like, all right, I understand what's going on, I understand what the author is doing. It was enjoyable after that, and I think up until the last, even the prologue, I was thinking about giving this book only 3 stars because the mystery was intriguing. I was definitely interested in what was going on and how things were playing out, and trying to figure out why this girl was kidnapped and what happened to her in between her being kidnapped and then eventually making it back to her family and her not remembering any of the details, and certain things start to happen where you're just like, all right, I really want to know what happened in the past to cause these events that happened later on in the present. And that was all super intriguing, but it wasn't blowing me away. I was expecting this twist, I don't know what, but then eventually we get the twist, right at the end in the prologue, seriously, the last page, we get this huge twist, and that definitely made me bump up my rating from a 3.5 to a 4-star, definitely, because that was definitely the kind of twist and ending that I was expecting from this kind of book, because people kept comparing it to, Gone Girl and The Girl on the Train that has, these big twists and stuff, and this one, we get to the last chapter, we finish the last chapter, and nothing really happens, then we get to the prologue, and I was like, alright, what's going on? And that's when we get everything is in the prologue. So if you guys are reading this expecting kind of that big twist, read it all the way until the end, because you will not get that twist up until the very end, and then kind of judge the book after that. I thought it was really enjoyable. I thought it was really uniquely done, even though it was a little confusing. I still really enjoyed it. I was still really intrigued by the mystery, and like I said, I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. Then after that, I buddy read The Girl Who Soared Over Fairyland and Cut the Moon in Two by Catherine M. Valente. This is the 3rd book in the Fairyland series, and I buddy read this with my friend Dive. We've been slowly buddy reading this series together. And for those of you who don't know or haven't heard of it on my channel or anybody else's channel, this is a middle grade fantasy story that follows our main character September as she has different adventures every year. In Fairyland, she's kind of swept away randomly every single year and goes into Fairyland, and another adventure ensues. So same thing kind of happens within this one. You get to see kind of more of her backstory and more of her life outside of Fairyland, and I kind of really enjoyed that you get more of a picture of what's going on. It gives this book actually more of a historical setting when you get to see more of September's background and where she came from, where she actually lives outside of Fairyland and everything. So I really enjoyed that one. But this one is what felt a little off for me. This one doesn't actually take place in Fairyland. She actually goes to the moon in this book and then has, you know, a different adventure when she's on the moon. It was still really enjoyable, but it did take me some time to get into this one. It took me some time to kind of like start enjoying this new setting with these other characters and everything. But once it kind of like I grew used to it, I really started enjoying it. So this one was another one that I ended up listening to on an audiobook, and the audiobook was absolutely amazing. I adored the audiobook narrator. I heard Catherine Valente was the narrator for the audiobook, so I can see why it felt so unique and so well done, because it was the author herself narrating her own story, so she knows how things are supposed to sound and how things are supposed to go and how whimsical and sort of dark things are supposed to be. So I really ended up enjoying this audiobook narrator. I will definitely continue on with this series on audiobook because I loved it so much. Like, I can listen to her voice all day, every day, all the time. I absolutely loved it. And in the end, even though it wasn't my favorite like book plot-wise in the series, it was still beautifully written. It was still beautifully done. I really enjoy this series and this book and this atmosphere, and the writing within these books I think is absolutely beautiful. But like I said, the plot was just a little, it took me some time to get into. I was still a little confused by the end. I didn't really understand everything that happened, but I still really enjoyed this one and ended up giving it a 3.5-ish out of 5 stars. Then moving on to the books that I read for school. The first one was Arctic Dreams by Barry Lopez. This is a non-fiction kind of nature writing documentary-ish type book that just kind of like tells a lot of information about the Arctic. It breaks down within chapters with like different kinds of animals and the kind of people who live there and past kind of voyages into the Arctic and stuff. Barry Lopez, you can definitely tell he knows what he's talking about when it comes to this kind of topic, but this isn't the kind of book that I would normally read for fun. I liked parts of it. I definitely liked the first few chapters where he focused on the different animals and their lives and kind of how they live and how they survive in the Arctic and everything, and all this information on the animal itself I thought was really interesting. But then he breaks out into like different topics and stuff in the book that I was just like really bored in. It just felt like a textbook, like I was reading just like information about the Arctic, and it was well done and well written, but just not something that I would normally pick up for fun. I gave this one a 2 out of 5 stars. It was okay. I wouldn't read it again. And we also read A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. Now, this is my first encounter with William Shakespeare. I've never read anything by William Shakespeare before. I didn't go to school here in the United States. I was in Puerto Rico, so we don't really study William Shakespeare in Puerto Rico. But this is the first time that I've read anything by him. I really ended up loving this one. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was funny and whimsical, and all of the different kind of fantasy elements that are going on I thought were pretty cool. It was just, it felt, like I said, it felt a little off for me. The language was a little bit too difficult, but like I said, it was the first time that I've actually like encountered anything by William Shakespeare, so it's taking me some time to kind of like get used to his language and his use of like prose and stuff, but I still enjoyed this one. I liked the fact that this version had kind of translations on the opposite page of the words that normally people wouldn't understand, so it made it a little bit easier to understand. And this book also had a short synopsis of what was going on in that specific scene or act, so you kind of knew before you started reading what was going to happen, so that made it easier to understand and everything. So I still really ended up enjoying this one, and I think I gave Midsummer Night's Dream a 4 out of 5 stars. And then we also read The Winter's Tale by William Shakespeare. Now, this one was a play that I ended up enjoying a lot more than I did A Midsummer Night's Dream, at least the first half. The first half of this play I thought was absolutely amazing and brilliantly done, and I really ended up enjoying the first half of it. Now, this, you know, it revolves around this couple that is having kind of some marital problems. Our main character, Leontes, accuses his wife, Hermione, of being unfaithful and having gotten pregnant by his best friend, Polixenes. And there's like, she kind of like gets thrown into jail and is accused of all of these things. It's very intense and kind of like, there's great intense dialogue throughout this one, and I really enjoyed the first half. But then you get to the second half, and it completely switches on you with its tone and its characters. It kind of jumps forward in through time. I think it's like 12 or 14 years after the first half of it, and then it went kind of downhill for me. This ending was just like so weird and just like, I don't know, just came completely out of left field. And discussing this one in class, I feel like a lot of people had the same opinions on this one, of just it feeling super weird and just like having our main character Leontes have this like redemption story where we like felt like he didn't deserve it. And I don't know, eventually within my Shakespeare class we'll be getting to more of like his tragedies and stuff, so if it keeps kind of that intense feeling throughout the entire thing, I might end up enjoying it more. But like I said, this one was okay for the first part, meh for the second half. So yeah guys, it is it for everything that I ended up completing in the month of September. Comment down below, let me know what your favorite books were in the month of September. If you guys have read any of the books that I have, what your opinions and thoughts were on them. Thank you guys all again for watching, and I will see you all next time.